Time now for the must-read opinion pages. Oh, thank you.
You see the Maureen Dowd column yesterday?
Yeah, she says the president's bi.
Is he really?
She says this.
Bipartisan, you
No, not bipartisan, and definitely not bisexual, just binary.
Oh.
This is what she says. I'll just sort of pick out the key ones here. In Afghanistan, he wants to go, but he wants to stay. On Libya, President Obama wants to lead from behind. He's engaging in hostilities against Gaddafi while telling Congress he's not. On the budget, he wants to cut spending and increase spending. On health care, he wants to get everybody covered but will not press for a universal system. On Wall Street, he assails fat cats, but at cocktail parties, he wants to collect some of their fat for his campaign. On politics, he likes to be friends with the other side but bash them at the same time. And then she closes this way. Sometimes, as Chris Christie put it, the president has got to show up. With each equivocation, the man in the Oval Office shields his identity and cloaks who the real Barack Obama is. One of the most important issues facing this nation. On some of the most important issues facing this nation, it is time for the president to come out of the closet.
Mike Barnicle, a growing frustration among many on the left is that this president, I won't say doesn't stand for anything, but a lot of people on the left wondering, what does he stand for? What is he willing to fight for?
Yeah, well, first of all, when Maureen has her fastball, there's no one better in print on op-ed pages anywhere. But secondly, you're absolutely right, Joe. Especially on the war in Afghanistan, there's increasing discontent on the left with regard to the president. There's increasing frustration, as Maureen points out, for instance, with financial services. Harold could speak to this. They're demonized for 1.5 to 2 years, and then they have the big $35,000 a head fundraising dinners. I mean, come on, who is he? He's a politician. That's who he is.
And I guess that's what's so stunning, John Meacham, that a politician is acting like a politician, because it was hope and change, and yet he seems to be extraordinarily measured, almost like he's a human polling machine.
Yeah. I think Mike's exactly right. I mean, we're surprised that we elected a really skilled politician to be president, at a remarkably young age, with not a lot of races under his belt. What I find, I sometimes wonder, and I wondered when I saw Maureen's column, whether Obama is already in some part of his writer's brain thinking about things he will regret not having done. Whether he's projecting forward in some way and thinking, I'm going to look back on this and think, I had this for 4 years, I had this for 8 years, and I didn't make this particular fight.
But so I have a question, though, which is,
good point.
We talk on this show all the time about coming to the middle, and the question is, and we think that's a good thing,
right.
And yet then we criticize him. We criticize him for not being far enough left or far enough right. But in terms of leadership and in terms of taking a stand on an issue, Harold and I have talked about the financial reform on Wall Street. They think he's too tough rhetorically. On the left, they think he's too easy. And what does that ultimately mean?
And Chris Christie, who seems critical, also says in order to be a leader in his state, he's had to compromise along the way.
But this is not about a political middle. This is about a man who always tries to be King Solomon and split the baby in half. And sometimes real leadership calls for making decisive decisions. If you're going to go into Libya and kill him, and don't lie to Congress and say you're not engaging in hostilities. If you want to make a change in Afghanistan, don't think that you can just play around with numbers and chart this mushy middle course where really nothing happens but the war drones on for another 3 or 4 years. This has nothing to do with the president moderating his stance politically. Harold, it just seems on every single issue he tries to be too clever by half. Let's talk about gay marriage, a big issue in New York State. He goes to give a speech and cheer on those supporting gay marriage. But as one columnist said yesterday, it may have been Maureen, actually Dick Cheney is more progressive on gay marriage than Barack Obama.
Well, I
always too clever by half.
He is. My gripe with the president is he just needs the style and the approach. He needs to engage a lot more. But let's step back and look at facts one moment. One, on Afghanistan and Iraq, he's talked about, he's following through on what he promised he would do in terms of reducing troop levels. We're killing more terrorists. We killed bin Laden with the help of George Bush as well, but it happened on Obama's watch. He made the most courageous decision in his presidency. Where he has failed the most, I think, is just on jobs and the economy. If the economy were better, people would think better of him. Where I fault him on a policy thing is they don't seem to be trying hard enough. They don't seem to be going from idea to idea. So we're going to do everything.
You support him on Libya as well?
Well, look, had he not, I do. Had he not pulled together the coalition early enough, if he'd allotted or allocated more money, the criticism would be even louder on the other side. Is it a little confusing? Absolutely, but so is the Middle East and so is the world. So I give him credit for what they've done there. And frankly, I was with a prominent U.S. senator over the weekend who shared with me, he thinks that one of the reasons that members of Congress are as critical of him as they are is that a lot of them see him as not having paid dues like they had to pay. There are a lot of factors in some of this. But at the end of the day, he's got a lead on the economy and the debt. And if he doesn't do that, he's going to have a hard time next year.
Well, Mike, let's talk, though, again, we'll take Libya, for instance, because what you look at Maureen's column, Libya, Afghanistan, it really personifies, because that's where a president has more sway than anything. Look at Libya. He says we're not trying to kill Gaddafi. But they're trying to kill Gaddafi. He says we're not engaged in hostilities. They're engaged in hostilities. He says Gaddafi must go. Then he says it's not about regime change. At some point, it begs the question, how stupid does he think voters are?
Well, I don't think he thinks voters are stupid, certainly. I don't know. I think in the back of my mind, part of this is the way he was raised. You know, always skating in the middle, not wanting to offend anyone, wants everyone to like him. But now this job that he has is really different, because when you make a decision in this job, a real decision, a leadership decision, critical decision, some people are going to get angry at you. And he seems to have an inability to be able to live with that right now, which is really troublesome.
You know, Jan Winter asked a question of Bill Clinton back, I believe it was 1993, 1994, in a very memorable Rolling Stone cover and then interview. And he asked Bill Clinton, is there anything you'd be willing to die for? Anything? And Jan Winter remembered the question really upsetting the president. That's an awfully intense question to ask. I don't even want to pose that question for the president. You just wonder, and I'm speaking as a small government conservative, as a political observer who doesn't agree with him on a lot of issues. But were I a liberal, I would be asking, what does this guy believe in? Does he support gay marriage or not? Does he support following? You look at the New York Times today. Was he opposed to Cheney Bush or not? You look at a New York Times op-ed that Mika pointed out to me. He's doing the same exact thing on the war on terror that Bush and Cheney did, doubling down in many aspects. What does he believe in? The Bush tax cuts. John Meacham, he was against it for 8 years. Then he extends them for 2 years.
Right.
What's he believe in?
Right. He believes in finding some compromise, right, as Barnacle says, to try to push forward. But I think what's happened is we're standing.
All right, we're going to talk about this more.